One of the best jobs for neurodivergent brains is being an entrepreneur, being your own boss. But this can also be one of the worst jobs for neurodivergent brains. So let's talk about the pros and cons and decide if working for yourself is right for you. Hi, my name is Megan, and welcome to Neurodivergent Magic, the YouTube channel for neurodivergent content with fresh videos coming to you every Tuesday. All right, so let's start with the pros of working for yourself. I have to admit that I'm a little bit biased here since I have worked for myself ever since I graduated school, starting out as a freelance writer and then moving into owning my own business. Obviously, I think it's great, and I want to talk to you about all of the reasons that being an entrepreneur is perfect for the neurodivergent brain. Number one, you only have to be as social as you want to be. As an entrepreneur, it's completely possible to go all day without talking to anyone, which can be a little off-putting for many neurotypical folks, but I think for us neurodivergent people, it really jives with how we think about social interactions. It makes it so it's on our terms. Personally, I'm an extroverted neurodivergent person, and so I really enjoy talking to people. That's why I joined a mastermind of other entrepreneurs. That way I could connect with them throughout the day, chat, have co-working hours, things like that, so that I could still be social even while working for myself. In most 9-to-5s, social interactions are really forced and often rely heavily on small talk, which is usually, but not always, not one of our strong suits as neurodivergent people. As an entrepreneur, you get to decide who you talk to, when, and how much, and you can make a lot of communication happen via email or Zoom or whatever makes you most comfortable, and that's just really, really nice to be in charge of your social interaction. Number two, no arbitrary deadlines or rules. If there is one thing that neurodivergent people truly can't stand, it's not understanding the reason for something. And unfortunately, in a 9-to-5, there's a lot of rules and expectations that you're never really given an explanation for. But when you work for yourself, you get to decide what you do and why, so nothing is ever arbitrary. This understanding of how every part of the process works is really amazing for a lot of neurodivergent folks. We love understanding how stuff works a lot of the time. And being in charge of how everything works and therefore understanding how it all works just makes us feel really at ease in our job. Number three, you're in charge of your own time. And this is so important for neurodivergent folks because we tend to have really big energy swings, right? Anybody else relate to that, or is that just me? Number three, you're in charge of your own time, which is seriously such a godsend for neurodivergent folks. A lot of us find that our energy levels tend to fluctuate wildly, and this can be really frustrating in a 9-to-5 job where you are expected to show up the same way every single day. When you work for yourself and you have a really low energy day, it's okay to show up and be less productive on that day because you know that you're going to have a really high energy day and your output's going to be super increased on that day. And so it's all right if things fluctuate in a way that it just isn't accepted in the 9-to-5 world. So those are just some of the many, many advantages to working for yourself as a neurodivergent person. But we have to be honest, it's not a perfect situation either. There are definitely disadvantages to working for yourself as a neurodivergent person as well. And I would be totally misleading you if I were to leave out those disadvantages. So here are some of the disadvantages that I've noticed working for myself as a neurodivergent person. Number one is actually the same as the last advantage that I mentioned, and that's, you're in charge of your own time. And that can be really difficult for a lot of neurodivergent people. We have a very hard time breaking big tasks down into smaller, more manageable tasks. That inability leads to intense overwhelm and anxiety, which then leads to procrastination. And without a boss watching over us, sometimes we can put stuff off for weeks or even months. And when you work for yourself, that's just not going to work. You have to get your stuff done, and there's no one there to make you do it except for you. Number two, working for yourself means being able to market yourself. And this is not always neurodivergent folks' biggest strength. Sometimes it is, I'm sure, but I know for me, I've really struggled with the marketing side of running my business. There's a lot of reasons neurodivergent folks really struggle with marketing. Sometimes it's a lack of understanding how other people perceive you. Sometimes it's a lack of understanding how you perceive yourself. And sometimes it's a deep unwillingness to manipulate others in any way. Now, here's the truth. Sales does not have to be manipulative. You can be really upfront and say, this is what I'm selling, this is what I create, and I'd really love it if you bought it because I think you would genuinely like it. It is possible to do sales that way. But let's face it, that's not usually how we're taught to do sales. A lot of sales tactics can feel manipulative or slimy or yucky, and there's a lot of neurodivergent folks out there who simply cannot stomach that. And if they don't realize that it's possible to sell without those tactics, then it might be really hard to run your business. And number 3, you really have to take care of yourself as an entrepreneur. In order to run a successful business, you have got to be at the top of your game, which means your self-care has to be on point. And this is not always our strongest suit as neurodivergent folks. A lot of us really struggle to take care of ourselves, whether it's due to past trauma that made us feel like we weren't worth taking care of, or whether it's due to executive dysfunction issues where we know what we have to do, we simply feel that we can't do it. So those are some of the cons of working for yourself as a neurodivergent person. So how do you weigh these pros and cons? How do you decide if you're going to be able to hack this or not? For me personally, I didn't really plan to work for myself. I started freelancing as something to do on the side while I interviewed for my big girl job. But I never got any of those big girl jobs. Instead, what I did get was lots and lots of freelancing clients. And then that was working so well for me, and I was doing some of my own writing on the side anyway, I figured I might as well turn that into a side business. What I mean is, start out small and see if it works for you. Don't expect it to go perfectly right away. Heaven knows my freelancing did not go perfect all the time. But if it feels good, if you like being in charge of your day, if more often than not it feels like it's working, then that's a good sign that you should be your own boss. On the other hand, if it feels even more overwhelming than your day job, then entrepreneurship might not be right for you, and there's absolutely no shame in that. I really hope this helped, and if you want to talk about being a neurodivergent entrepreneur, please go ahead and reach out to me. I put my email in the description below. I would love to chat with you, or if you're interested, I actually also offer VIP days where we set up your entire business in a day. So if you're ready to get started, we can definitely do that together. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next Tuesday.